It's true to a degree, but also these environments are quite complex, and you can actually do some really kind of core basic things like the SANS top 5, and actually put yourself in a really good defensible position. But yeah, so I guess
NetSeg or bust, keep your network zero trust. NetSeg.io, where the data needs to go. NetSeg or bust, keep your network zero trust.
All right, great. Well, it's great to have you here, Bruce.
Thank you, Leon.
Great to be having a nice 4X gold.
mate, the Milton Mangoes. It's the way to do
Cheers,
it.
mate. Yep.
Get it any old how.
Yep.
So,
Very nice bar here at the Sofitel, and they were kind enough to let us record our podcast here. So.
Oh man, it's a warm day, so we definitely we need some Milton Mangoes to get some
Love
refreshment.
a good Milton mango. So
yeah, mate.
It's early July. It's the middle of winter, allegedly.
I'm hot.
In Brisbane, and it's about 23 degrees.
I am a sweaty
feel
mess.
that humidity. Yeah.
Don't look at my back.
No worries, you don't have to tell me twice. So Bruce, tell us a bit about your career that's leading up to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
I'd just love to get a bit of background on.
So I guess I started as a telecoms engineer in Queensland Rail. So worked with train control systems, power systems.
Where'd you go to uni?
QT, University for the Real World, my friend.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I had to do work experience. So I looked at the forms, and QR was just basically fill out a little form, and Energex at the time was do a full letter, and I went, I'll start with QR, and they gave me a call and went, hey, do you want a scholarship? So
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I started, and worked in. I was actually a radio engineer for 6 weeks, and then they were like, wait, Linux and computers, you should do data. So, TCP, route switch, Cisco, firewalls, wireless, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And part of that then was looking after firewalls. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think that would have been about 2010.
Yep.
So it's 2026 now. So over 15 years, and and then been involved. Just enjoyed security. Listened to risky business back in the day, and went to CrikeyCon, B-sides, all that kind of stuff, and eventually ended up in PwC working in digital trust, and since then been really focusing on operational technology, cybersecurity, which, as you would know, is now a popular thing, but many years ago was probably
Before
not known.
it was cool.
No, exactly.
You got into it.
It was ICS back in our day. I actually remember reading the Skater attack trees paper and thinking, oh, this is pretty interesting. So How about yourself?
I went to UQ. So,
okay. Well, the interview's over. Goodbye.
Yeah, for those not from Brisbane, there's this whole UQ QUT
Well,
thing.
at least we're not Griffith.
Yeah, or Bond, But that's the other thing is, someone's from Brisbane when, as soon as you meet them and you hear they're from Brisbane, you're like, oh, what school did you go to?
Oh, exactly. What tie? Yeah. Well, I went to Dacabin, so it was a bit rough. So
I went to Churchy. So,
okay, all right. Man, this interview's going bad. It's going bad.
The more we learn about each other, the more we're diametrically opposed.
It's politically, socially.
No comment.
Emotionally?
I think so. So one of the things that I think I really admire about what you do, Bruce, aside from being, really, and there's a lot of big personalities in OT cybersecurity.
Certainly, yeah.
You're very, very open and sharing, but you do a lot for the community. And I could tell it's not coming out of self-interest. It's for a genuine passion and desire for building up the community. Do you want to tell me maybe some of the things you're involved in, some of the stuff you've been doing?
Yeah, for sure.
Because Rob Lee talks about this as well, one of the things that's really great about the OT cybersecurity industry is how close-knit the community is, and how, if you want to be a good community member, invite other people in the community, welcome them, make them feel included, even if they're getting started out, because this is an area that's just going to explode in terms of the opportunity, and we need good people from lots of different disciplines to help protect the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that moves atoms. We're not just moving, ones and zeros around in a cloud somewhere.
I like SANS kind of have this saying, it's like what makes, moves and powers the world, right?
Brilliant.
So, I was actually just recently at the SANS ICS Summit in the US. It's actually run at Disney World, which is just super fun. And I think I really like how Rob M. Lee talks to, defense is doable. And also, we hear the narrative that the adversary only has to get it right once and the blue team has to get it. It's like, that is true to a degree, but also these environments are quite complex, and you can actually do some really kind of core basic things like the SANS top 5 and actually put yourself in a really good defensible position. But so I guess, I do a lot with SANS. I'm an associate instructor.
gave a
teacher
talk
assistant.
at the conference, right?
Yeah, workshop. Yeah, so I did a workshop building OT socks, which is cool.
Quick aside,
Yeah.
what's your philosophy on converged IT/OT SOC versus separate
Yeah.
SOC?
I actually talked about this in the workshop. The MITRE attack, sorry, not MITRE attack, a MITRE 11 strategies of a world-class SOC actually has some really good guidance on different SOC structures. So depending on your size and your relationships between IT and OT, converged might make sense.
Yeah.
Other times they might be completely different. In some cases they're different companies. So understanding the legal structures, the cultural structures, and I think for a lot of Australian companies, even looking into OT visibility tools if they have a managed service.
Yeah.
So, for example, like Dragos has OT Watch.
Yep.
So, you can buy the tool, but you can also buy a managed service to look at the tool, which can be quite useful. So, I think also, interestingly, it's in some of the training I've done, it's about the site engineers actually being tier 3 support for the SOC. So given the complexity and how much these environments are, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of differences between sites, you really need to have that connection with the site engineers. So, but I've like in a previous job built an OT SOC. I've also seen environments.
And that was a separate OT SOC.
Correct.
Was
Yeah,
it?
And I've seen other environments where it's just people that, are interested in OT are in the IT SOC. So, I think a lot of people kind of think there's this magical answer that covers everything, and often it's the classic consultant, well, it depends, So but no, I do a lot with SANS. I'm also very involved in Engineers Australia. So I'm on the National Information Telecommunications Electronics Engineering, ITEE College. And I'm also a cyber engineer, so I'm actually a chartered engineer in ITEE and cyber. I am the National President of Professional Australia, the Professional Engineers Division, so fly the red flag, comrades, as you will. Not a lot of cyber there, but anyway, that's another story.
That's okay.
And ISA, International Society of Automation, so you probably know like Gareth Smith and team. I send a lot of emails and organise meetings for that. In Brisbane, we have IoT Skater Hackers, so we actually just had a session this week. Josh Reisenweber does awesome work for the community as well.
And B-Sides is tomorrow.
Yeah, B-Sides is tomorrow, yeah. And we're kicking off B-Sides ICS Down Under later this year, so that's in Melbourne.
That's the one in Melbourne,
Yeah, correct, yeah. So,
I'll have to submit my talk.
You do, no, the CFP is open till the end of July, so get after it. But yeah, no, and I think, I like to say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think too, like as an engineer that's interested in security, it's good to engage with other engineers. Literally just last night I caught up with a friend. We were at an engineering conference in Sydney, and I think it was in April, May. And unfortunately we were on at the same time. So we actually had a call last night to do each other's talks, because we didn't see each other's talks, and his was about like looking at, social studies and how language applies to systems engineering and how it affects AI, and very interesting. And mine was about aligning 62443 and a systems engineering lifecycle. So, and he loved it. It was just like, oh wow, this just makes sense. So I think a lot of engineers, they just don't know the language or the concepts. But engineers are really good at managing risk. And if we bring them on the journey, they move from being a blocker to an actual, an ally. Because they really care about their process. So bring them on the journey, right? Work with them as partners.
I like to use the phrase allies instead of enemies, because some of the mistakes I've seen when cyber leaders think, I was going to go in with my clipboard and wave my title around, and they've got to get on board with the program. Like, you're not going to get anywhere with that. It's much better to make friends, and I think one thing we really do agree on is the fact that if you're not engaging the people who work on the OT systems, and that's the part of the business that actually makes the money.
100%.
And we need to appreciate that and remind them that we're aware of that. And and that's why doing things like plant tours, and there's nothing cooler than going to the factory, as far as I'm concerned.
It's awesome.
Help start to build those bridges, and because you want the people working on the OT, in my view, you want them feeling like they're the ones who can control the pace of how fast the program moves, and to be able to say, well, look, there's 10 controls that we could deploy to reduce this risk, right? And I'm only going to ask you to put 3 of them in this year.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
work together which ones are going to have the least operational constraints. And it's not about, your traditional cyber things like data loss and ransomware so much as how is cyber is an inject to impact business continuity or safety, like some kind of
definitely.
safety or productivity. And when you frame it in that way, I've seen really good feedback back from factory floor folks who are like suddenly curious about cybersecurity because it's been framed in a way that is relevant to what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, use their language, right? I think one of the things I always try to do is, rather than having, an engineering risk management process and a parallel cyber process, is if I can inject a bit of cyber into an existing engineering risk management process, it's a lot easier. The other thing I find too is like, go hack stuff. Go show them what it looks like. Share cyber threat intelligence. Bring them on the journey. I mean, talk to them about, Ukraine, Poland, the Triconics stuff, and I think a lot of them, when it's actually quite interesting. And I'll get on the beers with engineers and like, what do you do? I was like, I do cybersecurity for control systems. Like, do they really get hacked? I'm like, yeah, man. And I start walking through, some of these case studies. And it's fascinating. I mean, it is actually, and I was did an Engineers Australia article on this. Engineers are finding themselves on the new front line of the fifth domain of warfare, right? And we're seeing this increase in the threat landscape and tensions increasing globally. And I think a lot of engineers don't follow it like we do. And when you bring them in on that journey, it's eye-opening. But I think you can't be like, we're all going to die from a phishing email. And I think some people...
counterproductive.
Exactly. Some people go way over the top. And I think if you just kind of bring them on the journey, and I use a term rather than being science fiction, show what it looks like. A friend of mine, Chris Corbin, big shout out to Chris. I used to work with Chris, and when he was leaving, I basically just went, hey man, just go scare the shit out of people. Just go show them what you can do. And they were actually really surprised that, wow, these attacks are very possible and very real. And I think, we talk about legacy systems and all these things. It's very hard to retrofit security into these systems. So bring them on the journey.
That's right. And I think one of the things, I've thought a lot about this, talked to people about, everyone's a lot more cyber conscious now out there in the general public.
Definitely.
But there hasn't really been a lot of big cyber physical breaches. And I made a comment on someone's LinkedIn post the other day that my hypothesis is, unless it's something that actually impacts people's lives, like an airport terminal gets shut down for 4 hours, or the power stops, a downtown city area, people aren't gonna. It's not going to have that level of relevance in people's minds. And the thing that's changing in industrial control systems now is that we're going through digital transformation in industrial control systems that the IT world went through over the last 10, 15 years. And so there's a lot more connectivity and automation technology going into these environments. And so the attack surface has completely changed. Anyone who's not adopting that automation is probably not going to be competitive.
Yes, and we're seeing lagging effects of these changes were made, and now there are more examples of attacks, right? I think the other interesting thing is there's this kind of term that IT is a medium frequency, medium consequence. OT is a low frequency, high consequence. But we are starting to see frequency increase, right? And interestingly too, even just OT ransomware, right? We're seeing organised crime just understand, well, if this is where the business makes money, we can talk, we have Jaguar and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you can even get complexities with supply chain impacts. So
there's a lot of downstream impacts outside of just the organisation. And that's where I think the power grid is most vulnerable, where the modern power grid with nothing against renewables, but renewable systems need a lot more market intervention because they don't have the same inertia as 6 power stations with big flywheels burning coal, right?
I mean, you did a white paper about this.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, exactly.
I did,
Yeah. No, it was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so this is where even if you run 6 power stations as part of an organisation,
Yep.
you're part of a much bigger system, which is the NEM.
Yeah.
And if someone gets control of your system and then takes it offline, all of a sudden the grid frequency starts to go well
cascading
outside
events.
50 hertz. Yeah, cascade. And then that affects pretty much all of modern civilization.
Yep. That's
Right.
why we see SOCI and these kind of things, right? Interestingly, for critical infrastructure, the risk matrix is typically the impact to your organisation, whereas like things like SOCI are actually turning into, well, what is the broader impact to society? And I've worked for organisations where that's very clear. If you look at their risk matrix, it's not just, well, how many dollars is this? It is, people impacted or wider societal impacts. And I think, I like a lot in SOCI because it's helping bring together this risk management across areas. But there's a lot more to be done.
There is.
Yeah,
I think the other thing about this interesting about critical infrastructure is, your typical ransomware organised crime type of attacker. I think critical infrastructure is much more of interest to nation states who want to, either activate their team of hackers, and we're not going to attribute any countries named here, but they might have a squad of hackers who can, and I think a lot of countries probably have this access to this offensive warfare capability. If they're already inside an environment, they can then just start destabilising what's happening at a general public level and destabilise confidence in their government. These geopolitical games are very complicated.
I mean, we see this in Ukraine, right? And I recommend, it's one of the things I do often when I go to a new organisation is I really like Andy Greenberg's Sandworm book. Andy's a journalist, writes for Wired, and does a really good job of pulling into perspective that, wow, like this is how nation states are having conflict with each other at the moment. And we see in Ukraine, we see this alignment or integration of effects between traditional military operations and cyber operations. And I think it's very interesting times, and everyone's kind of watching everyone else to see how it goes. And I think we do probably need to establish some stronger norms in this space of like what is a military target versus a civilian target, and it gets real complicated, unfortunately. And attacking a civilian target to achieve a military or geopolitical objective. So many of these wars are now fought in the court of public opinion and information warfare. I understand.
You'd love to have an enemy country's population lose faith in their own government because they can't keep the power on.
Correct.
For example. And there was another. I thought the Poland cyber attack that's been very well documented by Dragos as well as Poland's CERT is, that was an attack on DER systems, which I think are less fragile than your traditional systems that can operate. That frequency control comes more. It's just naturally part of the physics of it.
Well, in a very different economic case too, right? So in these environments, you'll see like an investment bank is like, we want to get into this market, and they fund the development. But I used to work in the electricity industry, and you would have like these big companies with established security functions. Now it's investment banks building an asset and on-selling it, and it's just the business case, right? It's like, was there budget for this? And coming back to do that is difficult. And interestingly, like their architectures are designed to run on the internet, so they are more difficult to isolate. And in Australia, we see things like critical infrastructure fortify or CI fortify are very challenging for some industries to actually achieve those.
How do you run your facility offline for 3 months if you're taking instructions from the market operator?
No, exactly, and then I think this is where there's some other great ACSC advice, joint publications of how you do secure integration of OT and whatnot. And I think this is one of the challenges is people are looking for very prescriptive black and white frameworks for just environments that are really complex. And challenging to, actually retrofit. And this is where I think engineers add a lot of value, and we see frameworks like consequence-driven cyber-informed engineering, where we actually use engineering controls or non-hackable safeguards to stop, dangerous high-consequence events from, cyber systems. So, it's fascinating. I really enjoy it, and I think it's just a super exciting time. Friends of mine, electrical engineers, like back when I was at uni 20 years ago, power was actually boring. No one wanted to do power, right? It was always, I want to do telco and software.
Yeah.
Well, now telco is dying, regrettably, as a telco engineer.
Yeah.
But we're seeing this, we're rebuilding the energy system in the next 10, 15 years.
Well, I think the modern grid now looks more like the internet does.
Yeah.
Where you've got much more smaller survivable systems, but a coordinated attack on those key choke points can do damage. And someone who has a lot of this information's fairly well publicly available. Someone who was motivated enough could decide where to target, and then just needs to.
Well, and I think rest assured, there's a lot of really smart people trying to manage these risks. Like when I was in the US, NREL, who've changed their names now, I can't remember, but they're one of the national labs in the US. Doing research into how do we build more resilient, green, renewable energy from cyber attacks. And Department of Energy in the US has done a lot of really interesting stuff. And I think, it's a common problem around the world. So, which probably is why we run our own businesses now.
well, exactly right. So then turning to that, tell me a bit about sort of what. I think we've got somewhat similar businesses coming from somewhat different backgrounds, but
correct,
for NetSeg, the really target is an organisation that doesn't have an OT cybersecurity specialist in their organisation who can sit between, the moving of the atoms and the cybersecurity discipline. And a lot of what I do, I'm probably a bit less technical than you are, but I've still got an engineering degree and all that. And,
from UQ though.
we're just sitting in the Forgan Smith building. Throwing chalk at the lecturer.
Leather-bound patches. I don't know.
None of that. None of that.
Smoke pipes. I mean, that sounds interesting.
Well, there was. No comment.
Okay, there we go. Well, we definitely had a lot of 4X goals.
We're down the Red Room fairly often.
The Refects,
which is the bar down at UQ.
I've actually been there.
It's a good spot.
So I think I launched Feb 25. I think you launched
Feb 26.
So it's been really interesting. So Be Large is I joke a lifestyle company, but no, it's just me. It's an OT cybersecurity advisory company. So we do things from say tabletops, exec education, project program advisory. My background's really security architecture. So security architecture, kind of OT security operations or control advisory. So we do have OT visibility tools. And I think we're going to probably touch on this, but the technology is interesting, but it's also the broader capability of how do you run it.
Well, why don't we jump into that? I think that's we've both seen this in lots of different organisations where someone's bought a product. The vendors installed it. They've turned it on. They've built a couple of dashboards. Generated some reports. That was 3 years ago. I'm like, when did you last log into it? Actually, I need to reset the password.
No, exactly.
Let me get back into it, and it's not tuned. The data, they're not using it to create business value, and they're probably getting. They could find a smoking gun later on if something happened. But then they're probably using 10% of what's actually there that they could use to create business value. Share your thoughts on.
And I think this is where you'll see maybe industry regulation or consulting engagement will say, look, you need visibility.
You got to buy a product.
Well, because if you haven't got it, it's actually very hard to know what has happened. And also, given these are kind of systems of systems, very network based. If you haven't got the collection or visibility during the incident, you can't always know what happened, right? So it's good
whether it was a cyber incident.
Exactly. And Rob M. Lee talks about root cause. How do you do root cause as to was this cyber? So I think a lot of companies know, hey, we need to invest, and they buy it. But the classic capex, opex, they've bought the the equipment, they've done the project, but they didn't really budget for people to like monitor and feed water it and all that stuff. And over time, it just atrophies, right?
And one of the other things that really bothers me is, you talk to a lot of people on the shop floor in OT, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't have access to any of those tools."
Wait, that's crazy.
And I'll talk to them and say, "Well, would you like access to this?" And like, yeah, this looks fantastic. I was talking to one guy, and he's like, "Look at what I got to use now." And he showed me this other like network monitoring tool. And he's like, "This is terrible." Yeah. And I showed him a bit about what I could do with a particular tool we're putting in this other organisation. And he's like, "Oh, that'd be fantastic." I'm like, "Yeah, no worries. We'll build a couple of dashboards, and if it's valuable, then great." Because when you've got, then all of a sudden, your cyber program is not just you or who's in your team. You've then got the people out there actually who understand the processes and the systems as you said, that are using the same tool and working with you as part of your extended cyber team, even if they're only spending like an hour a week on it.
And I've heard like many examples of the weird intermittent fault. The one PLC or RTU that just doesn't behave, and once a month at 2 a.m. on a Sunday does something strange. The network visibility tools really help in, are you aware of this like backup job that's running, or are you aware of this, there was actually a vendor doing something at the time? So these visibility tools really help for, I guess, resilience, right? Not just cybersecurity. So they can help, troubleshoot anomalous performance, things like that.
And that's actually one of the things that I think the vendors have really missed the boat on is they've got a cybersecurity tool, but they're not properly communicating the fact that this cybersecurity tool actually solves a lot of operational challenges.
Yeah, like network problems. And honestly, I think that conversation's happening more now. But I know, and just to your point before, what a great way to get the local engineers on board by helping them with visibility and other things too, like just helping with asset inventories or hunting down things. And
that's the first step in OTCSJ, and step 3 when you put a tool in and light up the network is go give every OT asset, a person at every asset, give them a list of the assets in that environment.
100%.
And then they're like, this is great. I now know it's end of life. Now I know, I know it's connected to what. These things should have been decommissioned. All of a sudden, you've got someone who's like interested in your program because you're providing them value that they're interested in.
Yeah, and just like weird things like, it looks like this thing hasn't got its clock stuff set right, or So I think there's a lot of value there, and it is interesting that assets that are only looking at this at renewal. So I think there is probably an ask that if you do have one of these tools, consider how you're running it, and have you budgeted time for it. And there's something I've found too when I've consulted is, the security teams, usually from an IT kind of world, and they're used to maybe ITIL or IT service management tools. The engineers are used to enterprise asset management tools where they're getting work orders and things. So something I've found useful is putting, I call it cyber maintenance, the patching, the log review, whatever. Put it in the engineering asset management tool. Because then it's in their backlog and they can see, wow, I've got 1 FTE of work here. I need to think about this, versus it's in the IT or in the SOC world and they don't have that visibility. And you kind of go to people that are already busy with many, I joke, there's many fires in OT, and just giving them more work. I mean, there was one company.
Here's 1,000 vulnerabilities. No.
There's one company I work for, I won't name names, but they used to nickname me the work generator, because I would just come around me like, hey, have you done all this? And they're like, Bruce, you're really annoying. I'm like, yes. But no, I think actually working with the support team to get that backlog of work visible, and then help management, because ultimately you have to show management, if we need to do this and this is much effort and we're not doing it, well, are we actually going to increase our risk appetite, or are we going to allocate resources? So I think, to that point, things like once a week we might go look at the visibility tool, and as we get more confidence with it, we might, and maybe, hey, is it a screen in an operations room? And I have heard too, there's some companies that on a shift change, they'll actually look at the visibility tool to go, oh yeah, cool, we're all sweet. So
And that's where things like, are there any new devices appearing on the network? Like basic things, and that's a really good entry point to start to build that conversation. I guess where we're leading to here is that people, process, technology thing we talk about in cybersecurity, and you know, a lot of there's still, and you have this in the IT world as well, that tick box and tell, well, I bought a product, the lights blink, it's plugged into something.
Project complete.
Yeah, tick. And the people and process thing is particularly important in OT cybersecurity because of what you're trying to protect. It's a totally different kind of system of consequences.
Yeah, and I found too, like, I think you need to have this kind of iterative relationship in the beginning of tooling and people. So if you've got no tools, people will go, hey, this is really annoying, I'm leaving. And likewise, if you just bought all the tools and you have no people, that doesn't work. And sometimes, you know, we will have preferences of tools. So I think in the beginning, there's this real tight coupling of people, of the people and the tooling. And then I think once you start getting comfortable with it, then do the process. Something I've seen people do is they just try and do the process in the beginning. They don't really know the tool, they don't really know how it's going to work in their environment. And you just end up like just burning a lot of time and energy. Whereas I feel like if you kind of get used to it and then document it once you're used to it, that can be quicker. And the other thing I've found is like, oh man, this doco is annoying. The problem is if you don't have the doco, there's just never any consistency. So if you're like triaging, or you know, you've got a tool with alerting, and you have different people interacting with it differently, it becomes really hard to know like, hey, did we miss something? So yeah, I think over time, process tends to like emerge. But I really do find people, like it's cool getting new tech and playing around with it and like, but then, you know, I guess it's like a puppy, it gets older and you're like, what are we going to do with this?
You've got to actually, use it to create business value.
It can't just be a Christmas present, if you will.
That's right. I think it's really good to start with a couple of basic playbooks of what do we happen if we see a new asset on the network
100%.
or see malicious external communications. And then you've got like an example playbook, but then you're taking that template and co-creating it with a plant person to go, we're going to, you know, use Pico for argument's sake. That's what I tend to use. I've got to stick with Sans flag and all that.
Great.
So, you know, when you're in that containment eradication phase, going to the someone on the shop floor and saying, well, as part of a containment eradication, there should probably be some kind of make safe depending on the system. Well, we're going to get as much information as we can. We detect the alert. We're going to research, cross-reference. Okay, this from all the information we can see right now, this is potentially something malicious. Then we'll call someone at the plant and go, this is the information we've got. Can you work with us to coordinate, validate that, okay, are we being attacked? Yes, okay. How do we eradicate that threat without making the problem worse by disabling a safety system or, you know, causing someone to drop on somebody?
Who has the authority, right, in these environments? And depending where you are in the world, there's different, like, workplace health and safety legislation or regulation, right? And, you know, difference even in the same country between industries, like mining versus energy versus, say, like water. And I think one of the other challenges is just how do you maintain these contact points, right, as people move, or even just like real like logistics stuff of like on-calls and on-call rosters, and how do you align that? I think there's a lot there, and you're absolutely right. You want to know what to do before you turn it on and find the thing, rather than turn the thing on and everybody panic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And when you've got that good working relationship, you can work together to resolve those problems. And equally, when you really need to like e-stop something, they trust you that we need to do this now.
You don't want to be introducing yourself during that.
No, that's exactly right. And
hello friends.
You'll get away with it once. And then you might as well go and work somewhere else because no one's ever going to believe what you have to say again.
100%.
And so that's why it's, you know, building that working relationship over time, even things like around patching, right? So, you know, I feel like there's two sets of playbooks. There's the incident remediation playbook, but there's also the patching remediation playbook where you go, instead of going, 1,000 CVEs, here you go, your problem now. You know, I'll blame you if something happens. Now it's like, okay, there's 1,000 CVEs. But I'm only asking you to look at 5, and these are the 5 that we think have the biggest impact based on what we understand about your environment, what's most critical. Help me understand. Okay, this system, is this critical? Well, this is actually reachable from externally, and it's been exploited in the past somewhere else. Helping a plant person understand that, and working together to, as you say, iterate and learn from what happens. So when you get that, alert from your local CERT saying, oh yeah, we've got this critical vulnerability, based on this other cyber attack, where you can very quickly go into your tool that you have access to and everyone knows how to get into it, and you can talk to the plant person and they can see it too and go, right, we have the same devices that have been hacked in Canada, for argument's sake. We need to, suspend operations of this subset of the system and patch this right now because of what could happen. And they'll trust you enough to do it. And then that's a really good success story, I think.
Well, yeah, and we, there's a model there called Now, Next, Never. So rather than just CVSS and, like you said, just throw it over the fence and have fun with that. Working with them to understand, like, is this critical? Can this wait for the next outage? Or is it just when we get to it, we'll get to it? And I think, like just, I don't know, having a bit of that empathy or just even understanding their viewpoint goes a long way. And the other thing too is the answer is not always patching. There could be other compensating controls. It could be disabling a service if you don't use it. It could be enhanced network segmentation. It could be enhanced network monitoring.
And that might be the playbook as well. Let's virtually patch it now. We've got an outage window in a week's time. We can actually close that door fully.
And then you're gonna you're working with them. You're not dictating to them. And so I think, and I feel like those conversations are improving, which is nice. And I think also one of the things I say to people is, like, it might not look sensible, but there's probably a reason they've done it. So just kind of get to why they did what they did. Now sometimes it isn't good. But often there is a reason.
Phrase your criticism as a question. Why is it like that? Help me understand.
Don't start with, why is this all Windows XP? Oh, here we go. Oh, I see. A nice vest, I see. You're from audit. So, So I think kind of, but I think also sometimes people do need to understand, like, what the consequences or how, like, by not doing that, it becomes, like, really easy to achieve the high consequence event. So I think bringing them on that journey, and they get risk, so bring them on the risk journey. But don't just come and say, oh, it's Windows XP and we're all going to die, because that will just upset them.
That's not productive, and that's why, like, I've spoken to enough cyber leaders that said we're going to come in and tell them how the program's going to run. I go, no, I think you should actually go in there and first just ask them to help educate you on their world. Right? Because it's like the Dale Carnegie, how to win friends and influence people. Don't go and tell people they're wrong. Learn about their world first, and then go, okay, and then where do you think cyber could impact us? You can just start asking questions like, what if someone did this, or what if someone did that? And then you're having a productive conversation, and you're not making presumptions about how they're doing things. As you said, there's probably logical reasons why a lot of things are set up a certain way. And a little bit of education, both ways, can help build a really effective program that's targeted, and you're not spending 80% of your time thinking, how do I outsmart this person? How do I outgun them with my boss talking to their boss? It then becomes like a my dad can beat up your dad type of discussion.
It's Game of Thrones.
Totally counterproductive.
No, definitely. And I know I've seen you do talks before about this, and I think, like, it sometimes, it sounds weird when you say it, because you're like, this is pretty obvious, but we keep
human
not doing
nature
it.
is predictable in its, what we just fall back to our our instincts, and we get someone gets our back up and we're like, right, I'm just going to freeze this person out as much
100%, as I can. I've done this on both sides. So
whereas if someone comes to you from corporate and you're an OT and you're like, I don't normally trust those guys. He's all right. He's one of the good ones.
No, exactly.
And then they're let's help this guy out. He's good.
And that helps to just go to site, go talk to people. I think, I use that term, the prisoner exchange program. Like, get their grad engineers and bring them in.
I love a site tour.
I love it. Exactly. It's just, what does that do? And a lot of them are actually kind of curious on, hey, like, you want to come see the SOC? Like,
Well, I think cybersecurity, and I do actually argue that it's a lot easier to teach people who work in OT about cybersecurity than it is to teach cybersecurity people about OT.
Yeah. I get this often.
There's a great cross-pollination opportunity there, great career development opportunity for people that maybe have been in the factory 20 years, have seen everything. To put in the cyber expansion pack. Insert that chip, and then all of a sudden you've got like an absolute lethal weapon in terms of protecting industrial organisations.
And even benefits that they'll have connections and they'll know how to talk to people, and
they're one of them. So we're talking about like the benefits of going to the shop floor, going out meeting with OT people. One of the things I've heard is like, if you can just talk their language and understand what their language is, just the terminology they use, and it's just building relationships. That's trust comes from. If people trust you, your progress will be much more effective.
Oh, that's super cool. Like, I joke, I'm a infrastructure tourist. I'm overseas. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like, what's that? I mean, or I'll be somewhere like, you want to see the control room? Like, hell yeah.
And a lot of people in these environments, they're really proud of what they've built.
Yeah, it's cool.
And they'll happily show you around. And I did a site tour recently, and at the end, guy was maintenance guy, been across lots of different systems, and at the end he's like, so, are there any vulnerabilities in the network? And I'm like, well, we've got that information. We're not just going to give you a list of 1,000 and tell you good luck. We're going to work with you to make sure we're practical, informed about making a risk-informed decision that reduces risk progressively and gets you the best return.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, it's the more information you can get to prioritise, because it's an iterative process, and remediating risk in OT is a lot slower than the IT world, just because of the nature of what you have to do and the constraints you're working in. You need to prioritise, and you can't prioritise without good quality information.
Absolutely, and doing that together and as a group makes the whole process a lot easier. So I think we won't be near the end.
Yeah,
we have a debate to get to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Bruce and I are doing the inaugural OT Speakeasy debate.
Yeah, mate.
Fortunately, we're on the same team, so.
No, exactly. It's the calm before the storm. The other team, they're in trouble.
The topic is the Purdue model is dead, and unfortunately we're in the affirmative, which I feel like is a slightly easier breed.
The other team may have got the shorter straw, I think. Yeah.
And I'm going last, so I don't have to prepare anything. I'm not allowed to introduce new information.
You're just rolling in hot.
So I changed it to the high vis especially.
No, I love it. Love it. No, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good night. So.
Well, great to have you on, Bruce. Great to share your perspective.
Yeah, thanks, dude.